Well, hundreds of people came together yesterday.
I always knew I was.
12 reporter Yasmin Rodriguez explains tonight why the 12 reporter Yasmin.
A teacher has resigned and
You actually have to have carnitine.
In February 2023,
Well, hundreds of people came together yesterday to lay a 10-year-old Greenfield boy to rest.
We first brought you this story last week when the family of Sammy Toish told us he took his own life after relentless bullying. Our Chase Howell went to Sammy's memorial.
More than 100 motorcycles driving side by side down New Road in Greenfield Tuesday morning. They're heading to Brandywine Church to pay respects to a boy who most have never met, but they're moved by his story. Inside the church, a memorial dedicated to a fourth grader who died by suicide. Just beyond the doors to the auditorium,
little did I know a year ago how important my life and my family's life, the Toish family, would be.
his loved ones shared memories of little Sammy Toish. After the service, motorcycles muttered as his uncles and older brothers carried his casket out of the church and placed it into the hearse. Those same motorcyclists followed the procession to Section 26 of a Greenfield cemetery, where Sammy is now at rest. And as family and some of the 10-year-old's classmates surround his casket, they're united in grief as the pastor reads a final prayer.
May you help us be the love and comfort and compassion to the Toish family and beyond. May we see this new day and may it start right now. Your kingdom come, your will be done, like it is in heaven. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Amen. Amen.
That was our Chase Howell reporting. A candlelight vigil is also planned for tomorrow night between 8 and 10. Right now it is planned to be at the park behind the restaurant depot in Greenfield, weather permitting.
Recordings just got
So
better.
the number one cause of autistic adults, the number one cause of death is taking their own lives. That's the number one cause of autistic people's unlifing. Almost all autistic kids are bullied at some point in time, usually in their early childhood, about 7 to 12, somewhere in there for sure. It can be deadly serious. In this case, it was for this kid who was not autistic. The thing is this not autistic kid took his own life, and yet the propensity is, the statistics let us know that it's even more likely for an autistic child to do the same thing. So, not cool at all. So I just want to keep that in mind. I don't want to set off too bad of a tone starting out, but it is something that we definitely need to keep in mind. So we got puzzle pieces here, which is already flags for me. Already red flags for sure. Okay, so let me make sure my microphone is working. Yes, it is. Okay, good. All right. Simple set of eye-tracking exercises may offer an effective solution for autism diagnosis in young children. They can also assess the scale of the condition. New research has found. The findings promise to help overcome delays and disparities in diagnosis to allow for early intervention and ultimately reduce lifetime care costs. So this isn't about the child's well-being, it's about the cost, which is really sad. Australia was looking at their criteria and so forth of autism, which they're actually getting one. And the term wellness was mentioned like 134 times. And when you look at the American equivalent, the term well-being is never mentioned. That's the difference in the attitude that is taken towards autistic people from the American to Australian. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Autism spectrum disorders are a diverse group of conditions characterized by some degree of difficulty with social interaction, communication, affecting roughly 1 in 36 children. Boy, we just love this. That's an old CDC statistic, so everybody loves to spout it off there. It's probably, well, it's not right. We know it's not right. Who knows what the actual number is right now, but that was just since the last time in 2021, so that's maybe actually information from 2020. And if anything, it would be lower than this, or if you wish, higher, 1 in 32 or something like that now. Maybe 1 in 35, who knows. Maybe it's not that much of a leap. Previous research has shown that children diagnosed with autism before the age of 2.5 are 3 times more likely to exhibit improvements in social symptoms. It's called social symptoms. The way we act is called the symptoms. How we interact with each other is called symptoms. How we think is called symptoms. Just saying. And exhibit improvements, that means that brainwashing works and that ABA it does train children to look more like neurotypical kids. That's what it's designed to do. Yes, it works. It does exactly what it's designed to do. Although that does cause, like, trauma and, you know, PTSD and so forth, and CPTSD, but that's something that just isn't addressed here. So, here's a story here. Let's see what they have to say. Thankfully, it's a short one. It's only, a minute or a couple of minutes.
It shows differences in brain development between boys and girls.
Oh, yeah, this is interesting.
And Christine Wu Nordal joins us live. She's a professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences and the senior author on this study. Thanks for...
And what is with this 60s hair? This is like 60s hair if I have ever seen it. Okay, something is happening now. Look at this. That is craziness. That's right, straight out of the 60s right there.
Joining us, so explain the differences that you found.
Yeah, so first let me tell you what we did. So we collected MRI scans in about 430 autistic and non-autistic boys and girls. And many of these kids had multiple MRI scans across between 2 to 13 years of age. So we then analyzed these MRI scans to study a part of the brain called the cortex, which is the outer layer of the brain that contains all of the brain's neurons or brain cells. And basically, in a nutshell, what we found was that there were many areas of the cortex that were developing differently in autistic boys and autistic girls.
And as opposed to allistic boys and girls.
So how could this affect diagnosis?
Well, we're not right now using MRI scans to diagnose autism. But what I think that the big take-home message of this study is that there are biological brain differences between autistic boys and girls, and this could help us understand why there are fewer girls diagnosed with autism, what's different about their brains, and what their different trajectories and support needs might be. So while this study isn't directly looking at diagnoses of autism, it really is drawing attention to the fact that girls are different from boys, and we need to be studying more autistic girls in order to better diagnose them and better support them as they grow up.
So do you think the girls are underdiagnosed at this point?
There is definitely some suggestion of that. So autism is diagnosed in about 4 boys for every 1 girl. And there's been a lot of discussion about why this is happening. And one of the things that we know is that it does seem that some of the girls...
For what she's saying, it sounds like I may actually, in fact, be wrong, because up till now, there's been nothing medically to indicate that there's any reason to believe that there are any more or less autistic girls than there are autistic boys. Now, this is a study, and it's suggesting. That doesn't mean that it is. And actually, you know, me saying that women are just as likely to be autistic as men, that may be correct. It may not be. I don't know. We'll see.
Are going underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed.
But girls are definitely underdiagnosed, for sure.
But what this study is actually showing is that there are also biological brain differences across boys and girls. So the whole story is not going to be explained just by misdiagnosed girls.
And what did you find most interesting or notable about the study results?
So one of the things that I was really surprised by, aside from these big differences, was that we saw some shared differences between autistic boys and girls, but these were really pretty small compared to the differences that we saw.
Mostly the differences were that 60s hairdos. We saw lots of 60s hairdos.
And I really wasn't expecting to see that big of a discrepancy between the similarities and the differences of boys and girls.
All right, Christine Wu Nordal, thank you so much for your insight and talking to us about your research.
That's definitely 60s hairdos. There's nothing, no other way to put it. All right, so this is talking about an eye tracking thing, where they use eye tracking to detect autism also. So basically, what we're seeing here is a lot of effort and huge pushes to get early detection so that we could get kids on ABA and etc. And now I'm not saying that that's specifically what it is, but there's a huge push for early detection at this point in time, for whatever reason. Moving right along. Oh, we got, I don't know who this dude is.
I always knew I was different, especially from the other kids. I spent most of my childhood feeling like an outsider looking in. In school, I was either hyper-focused on a topic or completely disinterested. I struggled socially, and I didn't usually get what others said or thought. In groups, I never knew when it was my turn to talk, and I took a lot of verbal, and sometimes worse, abuse for being different. It would be many years before I learned that millions of people were similarly different. By adulthood, I would eventually catch up to my peers in most ways and find acceptance from a small group of close friends and, soon enough, a loving wife and family. I was still different, but by then we all figured I was just Dave, and being Dave simply meant that I had some idiosyncrasies and needed a few accommodations.
That's kind of funny because literally they would say that's just Dave about me. Literally, that's what, well, yeah, that's just Dave.
I needed order and routine, and I got flustered by inconvenient changes. Sarcasm was very hard for me. I took everything literally and often personally. I truly...
Now, me, I'm pretty darn good at that sarcasm. Okay, I got that stuff down pat. In fact, to very much my detriment. I definitely had that. I had that sarcasm down so well that neurotypical people definitely understood it when I threw it down. I guess it stung when I would throw it down.
We only had two interests, cars and computers. I had to cut these scratchy tags from my shirts and shower right after haircuts. I was uncomfortable with hugging people, especially new people. I was never sure when it was my turn to talk, and when it was, I never knew quite where to look when talking to people. Now, I was great with stressful situations that I had the skill to solve, but terrible with things outside of my control. Despite taking 7 years off and on to finish high school, I did very well in university where I could focus on subjects that I was good at. By the end, I was clever, persistent, and fortunate enough to make it from Saskatchewan to Microsoft, starting as a software engineer on MS-DOS in the early 90s. After my stint in MS-DOS, I moved to Windows, where I was privileged to work on several other memorable features. If you've ever used Task Manager, opened a zip file, played pinball, formatted a disk, or used the Start menu, you're using some of my code to this very day. A few years ago, my old university invited me back to deliver a lecture on my life and career. By now, I was self-aware enough to make a few oblique references in the lecture to having some telling characteristics, such as, there may be a whole spectrum of reasons I am who I am. I may not be on the spectrum, but you can see it from here. Or, I could be on the spectrum, but if I am, it's the non-visible part of the spectrum. Shortly thereafter, a trusted friend and mentor, the very person who had actually hired me at Microsoft, happened to see the lecture. Now, his adult daughter had been recently diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, and that had sent him on a journey of self-education on all matters related to autism. He knew me well enough that he began to wonder if I had ASD as well. And after seeing me refer to the autism spectrum in the lecture, he reached out and took me for lunch, where he explained his reasoning. He followed up with the kind of email that really makes you sit up and pay attention. Maybe you should get yourself tested. Taking his suggestion to heart, I contacted the Autism Center at the University of Washington, which in turn referred me to a top local neurologist who specializes in neurodevelopmental conditions. There would be no rubber stamp. I learned it would involve 12 hours of intensive testing over several days. IQ tests, coordination assessments, personality inventories, the works. As I told friends of the upcoming testing, I had been expecting to hear a chorus of, "What? You autistic? That's silly."
Yeah.
To my substantial surprise.
Yeah, that was the one thing, that was the biggest surprise for me. I thought that, like, people would be surprised to find out I was autistic. There is not one damn person that I know. I'm talking people that I've known from childhood. Not one person that I know has ever been like, no. They've been like, oh. I mean, I haven't gotten a sarcastic gosh yet, but it has been not a surprise to anyone, not a family member, nobody. I hear autistic people saying all the time, that they hear that you don't look autistic, you don't act autistic or whatever. I've never heard that. Damn it.
I was met mostly with knowing looks accompanied by comments such as, fascinating, let us know what you find out. Now, in the meantime, I did what I did most afternoons. I stopped by a local auto machine shop to have coffee with Jim, a close friend who owned the place. He was about 70 now, a Vietnam combat veteran and a lifelong resident of my small town. He was also an absolute genius when it came to any car made before 1975. Jim had lost an eye to cancer just a few months back. Now, it was a melanoma that he ultimately would not survive. He didn't warn me, and one day I just walked in to find him terminally ill and missing an eye. As with many highly emotional moments, I was stoic and measured in the moment, until I had a meltdown that night. But on this day, when I told him I was being tested to see if I was a little bit autistic, he looked up from the carburetor he was working on, gave me a wry smile, and said, "Just a little, huh? Sometimes you really are the last to know." I undertook the 12 hours of testing and then awaited the results. When the day finally came a few weeks later, I asked my wife to accompany me to get the rest of the results, and as the doctor led us through the paper copy of the report, we eventually reached the section on social interactions. My wife spoke up. "Well, at least the numbers are good here, far above average." But then the doctor quickly corrected her. No, higher is worse. So the big news finally came at last. I have autism spectrum disorder, and not just a little. Now, it's a journey that's brought me face to face with some of the most challenging and rewarding moments in my life. As I navigated the complexities of my career and personal life, I discovered more about myself and the millions of others who share these unique traits. This glimpse into my experiences and realizations is just a small preview of what you'll find in my new book, The Non-Visible Part of the Autism Spectrum. Now, if you found my story intriguing, or if you think someone in your life might benefit from understanding more about living with some of the characteristics of autism, I encourage you to check out the book on Amazon. You can even download a free sample to get a sense of what's inside. It's available in paperback, and the ebook is on sale for under $10. But now then, can you be a little bit autistic? Well, that in turn depends on what we mean by autism and autistic. If the word autism is just shorthand for ASD, autism spectrum disorder, then I would argue that you either meet the clinical definition for autism spectrum disorder or you do not. In the sense that you can't have ASD without the disorder part. You can't be a little bit pregnant, and thus you can't be a little bit ASD. It's just a cluster of...
I've used the same exact wording there, that you can't be just a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant, you're autistic, not autistic. It's funny how we come up with a lot of the same comparisons and so forth. And it's just that literally we have like minds, literally our brains work similarly, and since we come from similar cultures and so forth, our brains are going to reference similar things. So it's just funny though that you just see it over and over and over, except particularly when it gets kind of specific like that.
Of symptoms, it must rise to the level of a specific diagnosed disorder before being ASD. If, however, we accept the word autism to simply mean the neurodevelopmental condition itself rather than the formal disorder, then it stands to reason that you could have just a little bit of whatever autism characteristics impact you. Yet they may not rise to the level of an actual disorder. And so I believe that you certainly can, and many people absolutely do, have some set of symptoms or characteristics of autism that wind up placing them in this region, the area that I call the non-visible part of the spectrum. They will likely never be diagnosed with ASD, but they experience some of the characteristics and symptoms typically associated with autism. And I wrote this book for those folks. So if you or someone you know might be on the spectrum, please check it out. Thanks for joining me out here in the shop today. In the meantime and in between time, I hope to see you next time, right here in Dave's Garage.
Switch to...
I like that. You think you might be a little bit autistic, huh? Let's see, primary care clinicians may have a new tool to help identify autism in young children. Okay, yeah, this is the eye tracking biomarkers. And this is not going to let me in here any further, unfortunately. What the story is about is that there has been a study with basically babies from, well, I say babies, 2.5 to the 3 or something like that, 5, I think, 2.5 to 5, and they were basically tracking their eye movements and so forth, and found that they could kind of predict which groups might become autistic in essence. But this is just a real preliminary study, and so, you know, there's not a whole lot that we know about that.
The parents are frustrated. Yasmin?
Yasmin?
Yeah, Mike, Kristen, tonight that family is demanding more answers from the Pittsburgh Public School District after their nonverbal autistic daughter was left on a school bus for almost 2 hours. It's been over 24 hours since that incident, but the family says they still don't know what happened.
And I love this. She's on scene, like nobody's there. Why would she be there? And I love how these, I mean, you can see, like, the door, there's no lights on in the building. This is a public building, public school building. There's outside lights on and stuff. They have to have artificial light from the van on her. But, I mean, she's ready for action. She's like a little action figure, action freaking reporter out there. Like nothing's going on. Nobody's even there yet. I mean, does she think, wow, I'm out here in the middle of the night. Like, what am I doing here? It just makes zero sense to me. Sorry about my little autistic rant there.
I mean, it generally seems like no one cares. I mean, oh well, it just happens.
Samantha and William Faulkner's daughter, Ava, attends Pittsburgh's Arlington pre-K through 8 elementary school. They say she normally returns home every day from around 3:45 at the absolute latest. It was 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon, and Ava still wasn't home, prompting her mother to contact her teacher.
It was like tag, you know. I text the teacher calls the principal calls the bus company, and it was just like, we don't know yet.
The parents contacted Pittsburgh police, and William began to drive the bus route, trying to locate his daughter. Almost 2 hours later, the Faulkners getting confirmation their daughter was on her way, but still left confused over what happened.
First, like, Ava fell asleep on the bus, and she was at the garage. Then it was, then now there's this story that he was at a last stop in Braddock, and a kid had told him there's another kid in the bus.
Once home, Ava was taken to Children's Hospital for evaluation after being left alone in the sweltering heat for hours. Physically, she was okay, but emotionally...
I got on the bus and I looked at her, and she was just looking down, and her eyes were blood red. Like, you could tell my baby was crying her eyes out.
Okay, so this sounds like an honest mistake, but the thing is this, that bus driver, you should be checking that bus every single seat, every single time, no matter what. End of story. And I had that, so that was negligence on that part of that driver. That driver should no longer have a job, because that is so important, just so things like that don't happen. That's literally, you are responsible for those kids' lives. You know? That's a very serious thing. Amazing.
Now her parents are demanding action from the school district. A spokesperson for Pittsburgh's public schools released this statement, saying in part, quote, "A review of the video verifies that the substitute driver did stop at the assigned stop, and when no one attempted to exit or meet the bus, he proceeded on the route."
But obviously didn't check the bus.
Now the family says Ava will no longer be riding that bus home from here at the school to their house. The mother now forced to safely and securely pick up her child after this harrowing ordeal. Reporting live from Arlington, Yasmin Rodriguez, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Yasmin.
Action News 4. That is so funny. It's even called Action News. I had no idea when I was making fun of it. But yeah, that's what it's called. Isn't that hilarious? Action News 4. So this really is not an autism story. This is just a negligent bus driver. I'm going to skip this one. Good, oh boy, the good riddance to the doctor. I'm not going to read this, but yeah, this person was pretty much bashing on the doctor. Saying that basically that it really portrayed, it didn't have any people on the staff, the writers that were autistic. There was no autistic person that was a consultant. There was no one at all directly related to the writing of this or production of this that was autistic. So these people were basically just doing it by the seat of their pants, not knowing what autism was. So we got a lot of stereotypes, from what I understand. Now, I never watched The Doctor, but that's what was being said by this person here. What is this? Oh, it's an autism thing, I think.
You could have prevented this by protecting the diverse groups of pro-Palestinians.
Okay, never mind. Okay, scientists reveal how much autism develops in kids, or how autism develops in kids. Scientists have made a breakthrough in... It's always a breakthrough. Do you know how many breakthroughs I've seen? How many things is called a breakthrough in autism? I've seen so many. It gets tiring, I'm telling you. It just gets tiring after a while. Oh my goodness gracious. There are many potential causes of autism spectrum disorders plural, which include both environmental and genetic factors. That's really, really overstating the environmental factors, and two, probably misrepresenting what the environmental factor even means. A lot of people, when they think of that, think of like chemicals or something like that we modern chemicals that we're using, and so forth. And while that could be a culprit, this means anything and everything, and we have no idea. Whatever is not genetic must be somehow environmental. Is what it is. It's a wild ass guess, is basically what it boils down to. However, we still know very little about biochemical mechanisms that underlie these conditions. At birth, the physical appearance and behavior of a child who will develop autism over the next few years are indistinguishable from that of a neurotypical child. Indeed, in most cases, the fate of the child with regard to autism is not set at birth. I don't know. Okay, I realize this guy's a professor of medicine, pediatrics, pathology, and all that stuff, but he is the only person who said anything like this. Basically, he's saying that you're not autistic even after birth. I don't believe that to be true. And that is from the science and so forth that we understand to this time. Now, maybe this guy is a genius and knows something that nobody else does. But to my knowledge, he's misjudged or wrong here. Just flatly wrong, according to what most doctors believe. And researchers, scientists in the field believe. And like I said, if he can prove something different, then great. We're starting to learn about the governing dynamics that regulate the transition from risk to the actual appearance of the first symptoms of autism spectrum disorders. Once again, plural there. Early, and this is fairly recent. May 16th, 2024. So within the last, week and a half? Week? Behavior and metabolism are linked. You cannot separate them. Metabolism is the language that the brain, gut, immune system use to communicate, and autism occurs when the communication between these systems is changed. You know what? He might be absolutely right there. I believe this is a he. Hopefully it's a he. Anyway, I think he may be absolutely correct there on that. In a new study published in Nature Journal on Communications Biology, Novak and his team, I'm calling him Novak, studied 2 cohorts of children, and it goes into what they were. I'm not going to get into the details of the study. Interestingly, out of 50 biochemical pathways analyzed, only 14 were responsible for 80% of the metabolic impact of autism. In particular, these included pathways involved. In particularly, these included pathways involved in regulating how our cells respond to stress or injury. Novak hypothesized that in children with autism, these stress pathways are less effective, are effectively turned off, resulting in heightened sensitivity to environmental stimuli. So basically, he's talking about literally a cause of the autism. And I know the gut is absolutely connected to the brain, and I have actually made a lot of quite a bit of commentary on that. I say the brain bone is connected to the stomach bone, and I very much believe in probiotics and so forth. I've found that bloating and the pain that I used to have in my stomach is not what it used to be, and that's from using probiotics. My hope is that once one drug that targets this biochemical pathway is approved, there will be a flurry of new drug development to target subsets and receptors involved in this pathway. And patients and physicians will have many more options to choose from. So he's talking about treating the hypersensitivities, is what he's talking about here. So that's kind of cool. I mean, if we can treat those, then great. I still think he's wrong. I think it is about birth, but I don't think he's wrong about it possibly being treated if we can find those pathways. So, yeah. Okay, we just looked at that. Autism and disassociation, is there a connection? Always a connection there. Individuals with ASD can sometimes exhibit a trait of social withdrawal from others. This can appear to be detachment in conjunction with strong desire for a great deal of alone time. Yes, I very much enjoy that myself. In contrast, disassociation is marked by a separation of one's thoughts or personality from a particular environment. So, let's see, he starts talking about disassociation here. Disassociation is a mental health term by which an individual disconnects from thought and consciousness. This may involve... What? Oh... What? You don't disconnect from thoughts, you get too focused on it. This may involve an overall feeling of being disconnected from one's body, memory issues, or a radical change from typical behavior and personality. I don't even know what this person's talking about. This is turning into gibberish. Often behaviors and disassociation are a result of protecting oneself emotionally from trauma or extreme anxiety. Oh, it is not. Autism is not caused by trauma. Oh my God. This is where this guy's trying to. People with autism may experience disassociation differently. Sometimes it may look like freezing up or catatonia. They may also have trouble understanding and expressing emotions, a condition known as alexithymia. Additionally, they may find it hard to recognize their own body's signals. Okay, now, this is correct. Like feeling hungry or tired. Yes. They could also struggle with knowing where their body is in space and time, which is proprioception issues or prosopagnosia. Proprioception is what the issue is. Prosopagnosia is what the condition is called. To clarify those two. Oh wow, I actually know stuff about stuff. That's so sad. I don't want to know stuff about stuff. For example, when we think of zoning out and staring blankly for an extended period of time, it can be a result of catatonic state. A medical professional should diagnose this from seizures. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, I am not even continuing with this dude. I am not even... I'm just moving right along. Brain patterns predict autism risk in infants. See how this is all about a cure? Any way you want to look at this, this is all about a cure. And my magic invisible cup. It's always about early detection, early diagnosis, and then a cure, essentially. Summary: a new study found distinct brain connectivity patterns in 6-week-old infants at risk for autism. Differences in salience network responsible for filtering important stimuli may predict later sensory and social behaviors. And if I remember right, this is it not? No, not Spark. It's part of that other, the Mind Institute or something, Institute for the Mind, partially through UCLA is where this is coming from, if I'm right. Or they've done similar studies to this. This is sad. I'm starting to get to know this stuff. Infants with stronger sensory connection shows sensory over responsibility at age 1, while those with stronger social connections demonstrated and shared better attention. Early brain patterns could explain reduced social attention and atypical sensory processing in autism. So with ABA, what they try to do is they try to make kids look like they're neurotypical, so they look better, and they're counting this as a win. They're not curing, treating, fixing the autism at all. They're just simply teaching the kid to mask, to pretend to not be autistic. Which we know is psychologically detrimental to the autistic person's mental health. Moving right along.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out what happened with my camera there and what was going on with it. I was seeing two different images stuck together, and it was really driving me insane. Because let's see if I can show you.
Yeah, it's kind of showing like that there, And I don't know if you noticed that because that I've got this slider, and I evidently didn't
transition all the way like I should have. So that was like really beginning to stress me out. All right. All right, back to the main thing. Key facts. Brain differences emerge before observable autism-related behaviors. Of course, the brain has to change or be different before you can observe differences in behavior. Pretty common sense. Salience network connectivity predicts sensory and social behaviors at age 1. Early brain patterns could explain reduced social attention and atypical sensory processing in autism. And they're framing this all. This is all being framed as a disease. Could explain reduced social attention. How about their hyper social attention and their atypical sensory processing and atypicalism and allisticism? I am very serious here. Their hypersensitivity, their hyper need, incessant pathological need for socialization is just that. It's not necessarily a problem for us at all. It's a difference, but not a deficit and not a problem. It's a difference. And it should not be pathologized. We should not be made out to be diseased because we simply do not like to socialize like allistic people. They have different brains than we do. Just because the majority of people like to socialize in a certain way does not mean that when a minority of people want to socialize in a different way that is wrong. But that is exactly what's being done here. And here's UCLA. What did I say? Unfortunately, I'm starting to get to know this stuff. I wish I had my magnifier. I'm going to have to find my magnifier. I found a program before that's not the Microsoft one that was a lot better than that one, where you could actually control the magnifier a lot better. But anyway, a study, and I mentioned this about UCLA. That's the University of California, Los Angeles. A study co-led by researchers at UCLA Health has found distinct brain connectivity patterns in 6-week-old infants at risk for developing autism spectrum disorder. The authors say their findings suggest that differences in brain responses likely emerge much earlier than ASD-related behaviors. So they're going to go on basically about this study here. So now here they're going to actually get they just talked about the studies, and that's so boring to talk about. I just do not like doing that. Meanwhile, the infants with a typical likelihood of developing ASD exhibited stronger connections between salience network and prefrontal regions, which are crucial for our social attention and interactions. We're finding out so much about autism every single day now. Autism is not going to be in 10 years what it is today. It's going to be very different. Howdy, Neon. Importantly, these early brain patterns seen at 6 weeks predicted behaviors at age 1 year Infants with greater connectivity with these sensory regions were autistic. Greatly sensory or over-responsive at age 1, an impairing condition which is common in autism. See, I told you. And how did I know that? Because we already know that we have extrasensory powers. Extrasensory powers. Extrasensory activity, and that's not hocus pocus or ESP by any stretch of the imagination. What it's saying is that our neural connectors are more hyperactive or more connected at a younger age than with neurotypical children. And hence, that's what makes us different. That's a large factor, or at least an indicating factor, of why and how we are, in fact, different. So it is literally a different brain type, not always an impairment. Now, I am disabled. Do not get me wrong. I am disabled because of my autism and my ADHD. But that's not necessarily to say that all things are disabling. It really depends. In contrast, infants with more connectivity in social attention area regions showed better ability to share attention with others at age 1, which these kids, of course, were not found to be autistic. They were realistic brains. The important precursor to developing the social and communication skills that are often impaired in autism. See how they're framing it once again, that it's an impairment. Not that these people have a hyper fixation, a pathologized attention, a pathological need for socialization. Why isn't it being framed that way? Because that is what it is. These people will lie to each other all day long just to be socially accepted by one another. That is not healthy. Whereas autistic people are likely to be very honest with one another, whether we like each other or not. Or we may like each other but totally disagree with each other. And we're completely cool with telling each other that, no matter what the relationship status is. It's just how we are. So are you telling me that that is unhealthy behaviors? That is unhealthy? That is an illness? When pathologically lying to each other all day long just for social acceptance, you're saying that that is normal, good behaviors? No. That's pathological. It's completely irrational behavior. Yet it's characterized as if there's something wrong because we don't have that pathological behaviors. Sometimes I wish I would remember to record this. This is a possibility that should be examined in large-scale longitudinal studies, and I can't remember what longitudinal studies are, that heavily sample brain and behavioral measures during the first postnatal years. An emerging theory in autism research is that differences in sensory processing may precede the more classic social communication symptoms of autism, and that the data supports the theory showing that very early brain differences related to how attention is allocated may predict both sensory and social behaviors in toddlers. You are and behave how your brain is. Yep. That's pretty much how it works. In other words, more attention to extraneous sensory stimuli in the environment could make it difficult to attend to social cues, and this difference, it's social cues with autistic people, not autistic people, by the way. Inattention could really affect how the brain develops across the first years of development. And it does with autistic people. It's just as important with autistic people. How the brain develops is extremely important, whether you're autistic or autistic. Of course it is. That's the brain. It's kind of important. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right, moving right along. Let's see. How many people have I seen today? Let's see. 0 viewers so far. It's been an hour and there's 0 viewers. There has to have been some viewers. What I find compelling about these converging findings in such young babies, in fact, I saw viewers earlier, and I know they're from TikTok, is they provide both mechanistic, and theoretical account for the lack of typical attentional biases for social stimuli. Talk about biases. This whole thing is biased. Abstract. Okay, I'm not going to get into this any further. I'm gonna. Oh my goodness! Move. Local mom wants answers after daughter with autism left on school bus. Okay, we saw this a little bit earlier. I'll go ahead and rehash this because it is kind of important. Let's see if there's any different information here, but basically it just sounded like a derelict bus driver.
On a school bus for 2 hours, her parents waiting and worrying. We were there as she got a ride home today, this time with her mom.
You feeling better today?
Yeah.
Yeah? You ready to ride with mommy's school bus?
Yeah.
Channel 11's Alyssa Raymond is live outside of Pittsburgh Arlington School. And Alyssa, thankfully everyone is safe and sound, but this was still a very scary situation for that girl and her parents.
Susan, and 24 hours later, there's still a lot of questions with this. This little 9-year-old girl goes here to Pittsburgh Arlington. A teacher helped her get on her school bus like they usually do. And then she didn't end up getting home until about 2 hours later. Here's the thing, though. She only lives about 2.5 miles from here.
It's really scary, just not, not knowing where your kid is and people not having answers.
Samantha Culp kept waiting for her 9-year-old daughter Ava to get home from school.
It's getting kind of later, where's Ava?
We were just trying to figure out where to go, how to find her. I drove to the school. There was no one at the school. I drove to every bus stop I knew. You knew the bus wasn't around here, and that's why I called the police.
Pittsburgh police say they started making calls.
We're going on 2 hours, 3:45 till 5:20. I mean, that's a lot of time for a child with no communication, autistic. I mean, it's mind-blowing to me.
Eventually, an officer showed up to Ava's home. At that point, the bus was there, and so was Ava.
She was crying, very upset, scared.
According to a report, the bus driver told an officer he was a sub. And after he realized Ava was still on the bus, he finished his last stop in Braddock before turning around to bring Ava back to her house in Carrick.
That's the first time we're hearing this.
It's a failure on so many parts.
Did he turn the van off? Did he get out? I don't know. I don't know.
She could have died. That's the bottom line. Hottest day of the school year. We don't even know if she was in a parking lot for 2 hours.
To be safe, Ava got checked out at Children's Hospital. She's fine, but today...
You ready to ride with mommy's school bus?
Yeah.
Yeah? You should check on them and nonverbal special needs. You should be a little bit extra careful.
I reached out to the bus company and I'm still waiting to hear back. A spokesperson with Pittsburgh Public Schools.
She's not going to hear back.
Reviewing the communication protocols. Ava's parents say they still have, again, a lot of questions about this, and they'd like to see the video from the cameras on the...
I don't think this had anything to do with her specifically being autistic. She just fell asleep in the back of the bus. So that's kind of, not to be unexpected.
County School says it is making changes to how it communicates with parents following a 5 on Your Side investigation.
If I did not reach out to you
at 5 on your side, they would have closed the case and they would never have responded.
Only on WRAL, Keely Arthur tells us the district failed to answer simple questions about a very serious situation.
It began like any other trip to the mailbox. Tess Smithen expected some junk mail, maybe a card or a bill. Instead, she received this letter alleging her son and his classmates were being abused by their teacher.
You okay?
Justin Smithen is 22.
He's amazing. The energy keeps me going.
Doctors say he will never be able to talk.
He will always be a child in a man's body.
That's okay.
Car?
His mother knows everything he's saying.
I'm not only his advocate, I'm not only his mother, but I am all that in one.
A triple threat who is never more vocal than when she feels Justin isn't treated fairly.
I'm trying to make sure that everything that other kids have, he has as well.
And she succeeds. This year, Tess says students like Justin who can't sit through normal graduation will have their own similar ceremony for the first time ever. But as that date approaches, she has some unfinished business.
It's no return address.
Listen to what was written in the anonymous letter sent to her.
The teacher is verbally and physically abusing children in class, makes racist comments and inappropriate sexual statements in front of the children. School administrators are aware of the situation. I looked at the principal and I said, "Were you aware of any of this?" And he got quiet and he said, "I was aware of some, but it's an ongoing investigation through HR and I cannot make any comments."
No comment is the answer Tess received for 17 months. And that got
And that's normal. That's these people were just malicious. This is what was going
what
on.
can a North Carolina parent do when they think something has happened to their child, but the school won't give them information?
What information?
To answer that, we teamed up with WRAL education insider Emily Walkenhorst and interviewed the experts.
First, parents of special needs children must be alerted when a teacher gets physical. Parents can get records of that.
Parents can't access the investigation of an employee. That's private.
But they can access investigative records that mention their children.
That's what we told Tessa to do.
Open folder.
She says those records told her nothing. 70% was redacted, and when she tried to open it later, the link was broken.
No one said you only have 30 days, 40 days to view all the information. No one ever said that.
And that's what you were later told, though.
Yes, ma'am.
Last month, we contacted Wake County Schools directly. Records showed the teacher moved to another school, but was still working. We wanted more information, which we didn't really get. But a day later, a spokesperson called to tell me the teacher resigned. You heard that right. The teacher resigned a day after Five on Your Side started asking questions. Tess received a letter apologizing for the delay in communication.
And I feel like they let me down, and they let down every other parent and child who was in that classroom. You tell us, if you see something, say something, and you did nothing. What's next? Dog. Who's this?
Justin will never be able to tell Tess what happened in that classroom, but she won't rest until someone does. And Wake County Schools will not comment directly on what was in that letter, but says it is making two changes. First, strengthening checkpoints in their investigative process to ensure that parents are more up to date, and transitioning to a new platform for tracking and documenting those investigations.
I think all of us here in the studio went 17 months. Are you serious? I mean, such a long time for that parent to go.
Okay, update. Police find missing 13-year-old boy safe. Cobb County. I can't remember where this was. Was this out of Virginia? Yes. Yeah, I think this is out of Virginia. I can't remember. But WS Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so this is Atlanta, Georgia that this is being coming out of Channel 2. So anyway, I think this is one that that was gone about 5 or 6 hours or something like that. Not a real long time, and they did find him, thankfully. The reason I feature this is just a reminder. I see these all the time. All the time about autistic kids wandering off. It happens. And it's something we've got to be cognizant of.
You actually have to have carnitine for proper neuronal development. Specifically in autism, they found that carnitine was essential for neuronal development and just the normal workings in your body. Now, we consider that a non-essential amino acid because we make it. But actually only 70% of people make enough, or even any at all. Some people don't make enough, and some people don't make any. And so, depending on what you're eating, you could be in trouble because carnitine does not exist in plants. You have to get it from meat. It exists in most animal products, most...
Okay, as far as this whatever the heck he's talking about, this particular thing, I don't know anything, and I would definitely not go down any snake oil trail. This being said, I do preach, and I will tell you over and over again, the brain bone is connected to the stomach bone, and I am really huge on probiotics because they have made a difference in my life. My stomach used to hurt all the time, and I didn't know it. And with that stomach pain, it caused me to have more meltdowns and so forth. Well, now I take care of my stomach. I take the probiotics and so forth, and it, like I said, it's definitely made a huge difference in my life. My wife's really good about getting me stuff like Activia. I've got stuff in my autism bag that goes with me everywhere I go, travel bag type thing. I've got different forms and pill forms and powders and drinks. What are they called? Buys or I can't remember what the name of the drinks are, but they're really good. I also do kombucha, so all really good things to do, but just don't buy into the snake oil.
For proper neuronal development. Specifically in autism, they found that carnitine was essential for neuronal development and just the normal workings in your body. Now, we consider that a non-essential amino acid because we make it. But actually only 70% of people make enough, or even any at all. Some people don't make enough, and some people don't make any. And so, depending on what you're eating, you could be in trouble because carnitine does not exist in plants. You have to get it from meat. It exists in most animal products, most dairy, but it is most abundant in red meat.
Red meat?
What's the first thing that vegetarians drop?
Red meat.
Red meat, right? You actually have to have carnitine for proper neuronal development. Specifically,
see, I don't know anything about this, but I do know that once again, that probiotics and so forth are extremely important, and I think there's going to be more and more studies that tie the gut and the brain together, and all kinds of different things. In fact, we might even find, believe it or not, gut treatments for mental health. And I'm not talking about, like, any kind of snake oil stuff, or go down to your herbal stock place or anything like that. But I can see that there could be some valid treatments coming down the pipe to help with our sensitivities, etc. So there is some validity. And what? Okay, this is like space alien eyes here. Oh my goodness gracious! Look at those! How big and blue those eyes are! Oh my goodness! Wow. Kid's probably not autistic, but nonetheless. A developmental twist. New study links autism to disrupted dopamine. So this would come as no big surprise. It amazes me how I see these studies every day that come out, and they discover what the autism community has known and talked about for years, decades maybe. We know that ADHD is a dopamine issue. That people with ADHD are basically trying to seek dopamine seeking. We know that with autism, that most autistic people are also ADHD. We know that there is a connection there. We know that independently, with autism, independent of ADHD, that there are dopamine issues. And I think it's deficiencies pretty much is what we have. Which is why we tend to stem and do other things like that. I think that is to help stimulate that dopamine production. So, now that we're actually completely surprised by what we already know, let's see what they have to say, because we might learn something. Recent research has highlighted the significant, and that's good because they're admitting that it's already been there. Something was there to highlight the significant role of dopamine in neuro development and its linked to autism spectrum disorder, and once again ADHD. That's my addition, not theirs. Leading investigators from Nantong University discovered, did I say that right? Nantong University discovered correlations between, okay, I'm not even going to try to say all these words. I wonder where this Nantong University, is that Japanese or Chinese? What is it? Where's it from? Where's that university? It's probably like from in Iowa or something. It's some American Indian name. And an indigenous American name. Anyway. Oh man. These results emphasize a need to explore developmental signaling pathways to grasping the origins of ASD, potentially leading to targeted treatments. So we're going to treat ASD again. The study published in the American Journal of Pathology. So, when dopamine is commonly recognized as a neurotransmitter, its significance in developmental aspects of autism is largely unexplored. Recent studies have highlighted the crucial studies of dopamine and serotonin and the development of their importance in constructions of neurocircuits. Okay, we know all this stuff. Oh boy. Armed with these tantalizing clues, we embarked on a mission to bridge the gap between dopamine's known functions and its potential impact on neurodevelopmental disorders, particularly autism. Our quest was to uncover a novel therapeutic target that could revolutionize the way we approach autism treatment. And Ling Yan Zing Gang Chen, Ministry of Education, Research of Nantong University. I have no idea what country this is still. I'm going to assume it's Japanese. Investigators studied the role of disrupted dopaminergic signaling and the etiology of ASD by integrating human brain RNA sequencing, transcriptome analysis, and zebrafish. Okay, I don't know what this zebrafish model is. Recognized for its high degree of conservation with humans. Okay, I have no idea what the hell they're talking about, and I'm not even going to try to read it. Let me see where they wrap it up here. Dr. Singh concludes, the research sheds lights on this role of dopamine in neurological circuit formation during early development. Specifically in the context of autism, understanding these mechanisms could lead to novel therapeutic interventions. That means like ABA type stuff. Interventions is where you use medicine or therapies or whatever, targeting dopaminergic signaling pathways to improve outcomes in individuals with autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders. So basically, here we have yet another story about early detection. And I am going to take a break for a little bit and maybe find something to eat. I'll be back in about, I would say, maybe about 10. right, we're back. All right, we're back. I've even got the mic on this time. Amazing. I amaze myself every day with the amazing things that I do, like, you know, turning on the mic. Yeah. Amazing things. Just, I amaze my wife every day too, but I don't think that's a big compliment going on there. Moving right along. Understanding why autism symptoms sometimes improve, and what are they calling autism symptoms? I am really curious. Let me think about this. Let me make a guess. What are they calling symptoms? I have no clue. No, I have no clue. With support of the Marcus Foundation, an MIT neuroscientist, and a Harvard Medical School immunologist will study the fever effect in an effort to devise therapies that mimic its beneficial effects. I don't even know what they're talking about. With some people with autism spectrum disorders experience an infection, at most outward sign is a fever. Some of their autism symptoms improve during that time. A new research project aims to understand why that happens so that it might be mimicked to produce a therapy. Oh boy, there's so many dang, so many different jokes that can go along with that one. Oh, I can't even... That was going to be pretty easy. Scientists are catching up to what parents and other caregivers have been reporting for many years. How many times have I said this? Actually, I haven't said that they're catching up. I'm just noting the fact that they miss what we're doing. They definitely are missing it.
No doubt about it. The school hope to explain how this happens in an effort to eventually develop therapies that mimic the fever effect, similarly improve symptoms. Although it isn't actually triggered by the fever per se, the fever effect is real, and it provides us with an opportunity to develop therapies to mitigate symptoms of autism spectrum disorders, says a neuroscientist Gloria Cho, associate professor at MIT of the Brain and Cognitive Sciences, affiliate to the Pitkauer Institute of Learning and Memory. So this is MIT. I've noticed at MIT, you wouldn't think MIT would be into neuroscience, but they definitely are. They are definitely into neuroscience. Choi will collaborate with the project of Juha. I'm so sorry. I'm probably saying these guys' names totally wrong, and I don't mean to do that. Professor of Immunology at Harvard Medical School. Together grants the two institutions provide $2.1 million over 3 years. I wonder where these grants come from. To the best of my knowledge, the fever effect is perhaps the only natural phenomenon in which developmentally determined autism symptoms improve significantly, albeit temporarily. Our goal is to learn how and why this happens at the levels of cells and molecules to identify immunological drivers and produce persistent effects that benefit a broad group of individuals with autism. The UK authorities on so-called autism are using Asperger's playbook. We have adopted the anarchist cookbook as a response to such... I don't know anything about the anarchist cookbook, Okay? Wait, how did I know about the word cook? No, we use Della Smith book for cooking. Yes, during COVID, from what I understand in the UK, oh, that's the worst. That's the worst one. I've got about 30 examples of those right wrapped around my desk here. I used to be a Christian, and I've let's just say helped fundamentalist Christians get out of Christianity. Is something that I did. I love it. It's better than their McDonald's cookbook. Yes, I love it. I've actually got the what's it called, the Skeptics Annotated Bible, which is a really awesome Bible. To the best of my knowledge, the fever effect is perhaps the only natural phenomenon in which developmentally determined autism symptoms improve significantly. Okay, we already read that. I have long been interested in novel approaches to treating and lessening autism symptoms. And doctors Cho and Hu, oh my God, Cho and Hu have honed in on bold theory, says Barney Marcus, founder and chair of the Marcus Foundation. This Marcus Foundation is one of those genetic things. They're like in bed with Spark, and what else? It's something called like the Human Project or something like that, which is another one. I'll remember what it's called here in a minute. Well, in the UK during COVID, first responders were told do not resuscitate people that are autistic. That actually happened. And I don't know that they ever rescinded that either. I don't know that they ever said to start reviving autistic people. Oh my goodness, you filmed them at it. Oh my goodness. Like, people actually did that? People actually did not resuscitate people because they were autistic? Are you telling me that human beings actually did not resuscitate people because they were autistic? Please do not tell me that that happened in the UK. Oh, please tell me that did not happen. Yeah. Oh my word. Oh. That's terrifying. That is so terrifying. Talk about dehumanizing. When your life is not worth saving because you're autistic. Wow. Well, I guess I might be visiting Wales or Scotland. Might stay away from that England. And it's well, I don't know. The Irish have some pretty wild stuff too, but it seems like the worst stuff comes from actually England, not the UK in general. It's usually England. Why is that? But I'm not going to say anything. I didn't notice. Oh my goodness! And DNR orders on old people because they're old. Oh my goodness! Wow, is this like a Logan's Run kind of thing? Basically, it's socially expensive, so therefore, you know, if they die, you know, and they don't have much of a life right now anyway, you know, you're not really hurting anybody, are you? They're just autistics. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Somebody's going to Yeah, that's terrible. We're preparing to destroy them and everything they stood for on paper that was their bureaucracy. No society, just the bullocks. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting to me, the internet right now, and this is post-COVID too. COVID, like no other time, connected people to the internet like never ever before. People that were not on social media were forced to go on social media for work. And then they were forced to do it just to see family members or whatever else. Oh, okay. That'd be cool to see what the quote is. I've totally lost my train of thought. Anyway, moving right along. Right, but you say this also applies to the law, but I mean, it's crazy that that's even enforceable. I mean, these people would go to jail or whatever if they had failed to. I would have. Oh my goodness gracious, because I would have disobeyed the law, and I guess I would have had to have been prosecuted for bringing people back to life. Could you imagine that? Going to jail? The Tower of London has been reopened, right? The Tower of London has now been reopened in order to punish people that were saving old people and autistic people.
That's crazy. Building on these studies, and I always say that these scientists, and I've been proven over and over again, like every day I am vindicated. Like I'll say something and then we'll find it. Just every time these brilliant scientists come up with these ideas for these studies, they go and they've come up with these brilliant ideas for these studies, these great studies, and they go get the grants for the studies, they do the studies, and they find out what the autistic community knew the entire time. Like, was so obvious that nobody needed to do a study whatsoever. But if they would have bothered to ask the autistic community, they would have found out. Like, I'll give an example. Like, I bet you they would do a study to find out if tags cause annoyance to people, if tags in our clothing annoys us. Could you imagine? The scientists would actually go and do a study on that. Instead of just like going to the autistic community and saying, hey, do tags bother you? You know? Wow. Oh wow, that's crazy. That is so crazy. That's like really going back and like to becoming less and less. That's less humanism. Where is the humanism in all this? Why isn't there any humanism? Oh yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see you having PTSD after all that. Oh hell yeah. Oh my god. Well, see, I have a big issue for I don't trust the police at all, and I don't like them being around, and if they're around I get very upset myself. Yeah, I believe you. Believe me. I definitely that happens here too sometimes. unfortunately. Building on these studies, a 2020 paper clarified that fever effect in the setting of autism. This research showed that mice that developed autism symptoms as a result of maternal infection while in utero would exhibit improvements in their sociability when they had infections, a finding that mirrored observations in people. So, like, if we turn into zombies, if we get infected, if we turn into the infected, well, hell, or we'll just turn out to be a lot nicer. When we become zombies, we turn into nicer human beings. It has like the opposite effect. We're safer once we've been turned into zombies. The scientists discovered that this effect is dependent on overexpression of oh my word. Oh my word. Wow. Wow. That's craziness. That's really crazy. Huh. Okay, so moving right along. When the scientists administered IL-17A directly to the brains of mice with autism-like symptoms whose mothers had not been infected during pregnancy, the treatment still produced improvements in symptoms. This work suggested that mimicking the fever effect by giving extra IL-17A could produce similar therapeutic effects for multiple autism spectrum disorders. That's interesting that they put it. The public page show it here, and I will talk. Oh, okay. Check Tom's. Okay. I will check it out. I got you. I got you. Yeah, Facebook actually is, like, I know Facebook is, they are often, they will censor certain things, like, they won't censor things about the Ukraine, but those same things they will censor about, Israel. And I really shouldn't be talking about this, but frankly, I am not proud of the United States to support a country that where a genocide is being committed against, that being the Ukraine, on the one hand, and then supporting Israel with what they're doing on the other hand. And with what they're doing looks to me like it is genocide. I don't know that for sure, but from everything what I see, it sure looks like it. I don't see how you level cities to get a hold of a few terrorists. And saying, well, they're in a couple of, they're in some of the buildings, then they, okay, the terrorists were not in every single building that you had to level the entire city. And this city, and that city, and this city, and that city. Yeah, and in Africa too. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in China. I know there's a bunch of different conflicts. There's like 6 different conflicts going on in, it's mostly northern Africa actually. But something like 6 conflicts I think going on in Africa. Yeah, it's amazing how, oh yeah, Well, China is a different kind of country, a different kind of place to live, and just for one guy to have that much power over that many people is just amazing to me. It's just unbelievable. By learning the science behind the fever effect and knowing the mechanism behind the improvement in symptoms, we can have enough knowledge to be able to mimic it. And this is just saying, well, if we, this is the Thomas Edison approach to medicine. Well, heck, if we just tinker around here with this and we tinker around with that and tinker around with this, we might get something eventually. That was the Thomas Edison effect. What you want is the Nikola Tesla kind of planning, because Nikola Tesla would have an entire system designed and would put it on paper and then build it, and it would work the first time. Whereas Edison had to tinker around with stuff and kind of figure it out. And that's exactly what this approach is. If we tinker around with stuff, then we might happen to get onto something. And you want to play with stuff that is causing fevers. And we don't know why or what it is that that causes this effect for whatever these more social-like behaviors are. So, you know what it is? I don't know. We may mask more in that time for whatever reason. Who knows? Elon owns the bodies in his cars under contract if they crash. So, in other words, if someone crashes in a Tesla, and you would have to be the owner, I would imagine, because they couldn't do it. But basically, so as an owner of a Tesla, you sign a contract that says that if you die in that Tesla, that Elon Musk owns your body. Is that how I am to understand that? That would just be really weird. Yeah, he gets the right to find out what happened, etc. Then your family gets the body if claimed. I don't blame him for wanting to do that. I don't blame him. That's a little weird, because he could get that knowledge anyhow, I would think. Yeah. I hope Elon treats me well. Oh my goodness. I was just thinking about getting a Model S too. Like, maybe I ought to get a Model S. Little sedan. I drove in one time. Yes, he does like human research. He is very much into human research. You know, he is autistic, right? But he has not talked about autism except for in the very. He talked about his childhood a little bit and how he liked to research and to study. But yeah, I think he's like one of the most brilliant people there are right now, and also one of the dumbest people there is right now, because he does some wonderful things, and then he does some really horrible, just stupid things. I don't get him. Yeah, he probably does have a lot of trauma, and he's just made some decisions that hurt people. He did? What do you read about? What was that about? We are enormously grateful and excited to have this opportunity. We hope our work will kick up some dust and make some of the first step towards discovering underlying causes of fever responses. That's what we want to know, is what's causing the fever responses. And do those even have anything to do directly with the fever itself? Maybe it's just a response. Maybe there's an enzyme or something that's put out, or a hormone or whatever that fights this, that, or the other. That something else tries to attack whatever else, and that's what causes the fever. So it may be indirect, is what I'm saying. I didn't know we read it. Okay, that's kind of cool. Did you ever shoot a human you could have saved when you... No. I didn't anyway, because thank goodness I was in corrections, and I didn't have to deal with weapons very often. Well, I did for 5 years. I had weapons every day, but you know what? I think cops shoot way too fast. I think my example is this, and we can see this. We could pull this up on the internet right now and prove it. But you can have 14, 16-year-olds, particularly if they're young black autistics, men. They get a little bit older, they're having a meltdown, mom calls the police, the kid's 16 now, he's a little bit bigger, mom's concerned, the police get there, and in 16 years, mom and the family never murdered that young child. In 16 years, in less than 16 seconds, the cops unlifed the kid. Because that's how long they can handle an autistic kid. 16 seconds, knowing that they're autistic. It's a big mistake to call the police on any autistic person for any reason. Unless you want them to be unlifed. If you just are bound and determined that you want that person to just lose their life, then go ahead and call the cops. Because you are going to be an accomplice to murder there, and you may not get charged for it, but it will be your fault. You will have to live with it. Hey Danielle, I tell you what, we don't have enough prison cells for the cops. That's what the problem is. Most police officers, this is the thing, and I say this, people may think I'm annoyed or whatever, but I was a peace officer for 15 years, and most interactions that the cops have with people, they break the law. They don't know the law. They just expect people to obey them. And when people don't obey them every time, then that's where we start getting into the physical assaults and bruising egos, because they're there for power and control in the first place. 98% of the people are attracted to that profession because they want to hide behind that badge. They want that power and they like the control. They want to get a piece of action. And so that's why they get involved with it. That's why when I used to hear kids join, and they get hired on, and they'd be like, I always wanted to be a cop, and I would cringe. I would always cringe if I ever heard a kid say I always wanted to be a cop, because that was just the type of person you probably did not want. Now there were a few kids in there that their father and their mother and their grandfather and their grandmother on the other side of the family, they were all peace officers or whatever, and so they just kind of feel like they need to continue the tradition, blah, 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 and so they go be peace officers. There are some people that do it just for the money, you know, it's just a good job. Those people are very, very rare. Oh, we can tell who the bad ones are. We can tell the good and the bad cops, right? I mean, just by talking to them for a few seconds, you can always tell if they got an attitude, you know. Who wants to be one? Danielle? Who wants to be a cop? I want to know who to help. Dallas. Oh. Well, the thing is with howdy. The thing is with police officers, there are some people that want to be police officers, and that's a good thing. The problem is most people are there for the power and control. And when they run into autistic people, they see victim written across our foreheads. Because they know that they can get away with abusing us a lot more than they can with neurotypical people. So that's what they do. I hate to sound, you know, so paranoid like that, but it is literally what's happened. It's literally what I've seen. And very few cops understand autism at all. I just saw where a police department yesterday, we had a story where a police department was bragging. It was out of, I think it was New York or New Jersey. Anyway, they were just bragging that they had a cop course, Danielle. And I was like, yeah. And I'm being a smartass like usual. And I'm like, yeah, what do they have, a 2-hour course? And I sure as shit they had a 2-hour course on autism. And all of their officers were therefore certified as autism officers. Certified as autism officers. We have autism officers now. Yeah, be a biker. They help more than the police. It's totally true, though, Danielle. It's totally true. So, this is what's really cool. I was down for, let's see, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? I was not making videos. I wasn't doing anything. My computer got so crashy, so messed up, that I basically couldn't use it. So I finally figured out that I needed to reset my computer. And then I realized that probably I had gotten a lot of bugs and viruses, malware, what have you, on my computer, because I started looking at all these different websites and these stories, and I think I'm picking up bugs. Well, the thing is this, I got just enough gifts, like 40 cents here, 40 cents there, 20 cents here or there, that I had like $19 or $18, but I needed like $3 more to get the virus protection that I needed to be able to go back online. Because otherwise I couldn't do this, because I go to all these different websites getting these stories. And so I have to have that protection, or I don't have a computer. And so I had to restart my computer, and then I had to basically redo a bunch of programs and stuff like that. But the good news is this. It was the fact that people gave me like $3 in total thus far, and that was just enough in my bank account for me to have over the $19 that I needed, so that I could get the program I needed, so that I could actually be here and be doing this. So that was really awesome. Henry, Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. The next. I didn't know that. UTSW study sheds light on rare form of autism. Now this one just caught my attention. Rare form of autism. I think that, oh yeah, this is that Fox P1. I think I might actually, oh no, I don't think it's the Fox P1. There's a gal with another genetic disorder I know. I don't think it's Fox P1. It might be though. I know this one's like really, really rare, and hers is too. About like 200 people have it, something like that. But this is what they're basically talking about, and it's really, it's not. It's a Fox P1. That's the diagnosis or whatever. It's not autism actually. I think at one point in time, the findings could shed light on other forms of ASD as well, but it's not an actual type of autism. But it is. It probably fits in the FET spectrum somewhere, but it's not. It doesn't fit under ASD. But it definitely does fit under the spectrum, if that's making any damn sense. Let's see if they explain it a little bit better. I don't see it. No, they're not really. Okay, it says about 200 individuals worldwide have Fox P1 syndrome, a genetic condition caused by mutations in the Fox P1 gene that render it non-functional. Along with intellectual deficits, developmental delays, and other symptoms, people with this disease, and they're calling it a disease, which it by definition would not be, also tend to have ASD or exhibit autistic behaviors. So yeah. And I think that the person that I'm thinking of that may have it, she does also. Boring story. Oh, good riddance to the doctor. Okay, this is a long one. A long article. I couldn't believe it. Look at this thing. But this is an autistic person that I guess didn't really watch this show until recently. And they're talking about, is it bedtime? Is it bedtime? You know what? That's okay. That's okay. It's Friday. I'm probably gonna quit here in a little bit. Actually, I'm 30 minutes over as it is. So I might actually jump off of here after a little bit. So anyway, I read this, and this is hilarious because basically this person is saying that the good doctor, unfortunately, the writers, none of the writers were autistic or had any autistic family members. There was no autistic people on any of the production or on any part of the production of that show. There was no autistic people involved at all. And so what they ended up doing was writing stereotypical parts and stereotypical stuff that is often misconceptions of autism. And so that's the big complaint with the good doctor. And I saw him in an interview, and he was just talking about how proud he was to have represented autism and all this, and the writers, I guess, all patting themselves on their back and everything. And they didn't correlate with autistic people at all. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm glad the good doctor's gone. I never did watch it myself. I saw like commercials for it, but that was about it.
Brett Ashnoff, an 18-year-old with autism from New Jersey, who weighed just 95 pounds, called his mother crying. He had been taken to a padded room and physically restrained, which had never happened at any other school he had attended. Before the confrontation,
I
Brett's
had-
parents were already concerned.
I had that happen at State Hospital.
We know from records that he had stopped sleeping, wasn't given his medicine 5 days in a row, was losing weight, his nails weren't being cut, and his speech therapy was reduced because of limited staff. When his father tried to report suspected abuse to several state agencies, each one recommended he try someone else, and every agency said the same thing. They didn't have jurisdiction over the school. The failures of oversight at Shrub Oak come at a time when more young people are being diagnosed with autism, and school districts and families are desperate for help educating.
I'm hearing this is not the first negative thing I heard about this school. I'm starting to hear quite a few negative things about this school. I hope this isn't just some institution that's there to just make money.
Brett Ashnoff, an 18-year-old with autism from New Jersey, who weighed just 95 pounds.
Good, another one on the good doctor. New autism study reveals tantalizing clues about its development. Tantalizing. Ooh, we're tantalizing.
I like that. I'm tantalizing. Tantalizing clues about its development. Ooh, it's so tantalizing. Completely tantalizing. Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness gracious. That's just funny. Tantalizing. Scientists have made a breakthrough. Oh my goodness. Wow, if this isn't like clickbait language or something, right? This writer's actual job is to write clickbait thumbs. That's what they do for a living. They just happen to be writing an article today. Scientists have made a breakthrough in our understanding of neuroscience behind autism spectrum disorders, plural. They promise us to revolutionize the way we approach treatment, scientists say. The discovery revolves around important chemical messenger that we tend to associate with pleasure and reward, dopamine. Okay, not just... Less than 10 minutes ago, I was complaining about how scientists find out all these things. They do these studies, and they find out what we already knew. And then I went into ADHD, dopamine. I called it. And here, this is a tantalizing and breakthrough. Crap that we have known about and talked about for years. Simon Baron-Cohen. I just saw an interview with him and I was so shocked. I should have... I need to do a whole thing on Simon Baron-Cohen. But he's the one who started this... he's out of Cambridge University. He's the one who started the Spark thing. He is probably known as being the foremost expert in autism spectrum disorder in the world. He was actually knighted by the Queen of England for his work with autism. This being said, he has no clue about autism whatsoever. He was trying to do this Spark thing with his DNA research stuff to find the cause of autism and all this stuff, and he was shocked when the autism community came out and said that we did not want that. He said he could not believe the response he got from the autism community. That's because he never talked to the autism community. If he would have talked to us before he spent millions and millions of dollars on this project, he would have known. If he was part of the autistic community, he would have known. But he's not. He doesn't even know any autistic people. And I've said that for years. And that proves it. If he had known somebody, he'd been like, hey, George, while they're shooting pool or whatever, I'm working on this DNA project for autistic people. And the autistic person would have then looked at him like he was insane and told him, "Don't you dare even think about that." Or at least directed him to the autistic community to find out that maybe, yeah, that was a real bad idea. But the thing is if he had friends, if he knew autistic people, he would have never even thought about doing it. But he doesn't. He is a researcher, the foremost researcher in autism in the world, at least among the top, and has zero clue about autism. None. Whatsoever. He's the one that is that really spreads the misogyny about the maleness of autism, the manliness of autism, the maleness gene, all that BS. He's the one that really destroyed the whole double empathy problem. And the original person that came up with it, yes, that was a thing, but then once Simon Baron Cohen got a hold of it, he completely ruined that and made it into autistic people have zero empathy. But so here we are, Danielle. Are you still there, Danielle? Here we are. I'm calling it again. While dopamine is commonly recognized as a neurotransmitter, its significance in developmental aspects of autism is largely unexplored, said lead investigators. This is Chen and Zing again, which I read about before. So this is that same group, Chen and Zing, which we actually looked at earlier. Alright, psychologists reveal new predictor of autism in 6-month-olds. Alright, we already also looked at that one too, which is really good. Because, hey, that's awesome. That means I can get out of here. I want to thank everybody that has made it possible for me to be here by supporting me, even with those little tiny roses and so forth. That made the difference between me being able to be here and not being able to be here, and it made the difference in my motivation of trying to keep up with this and seeing where it goes. So I just want to very much thank everyone from the bottom of my heart, because you guys are the reason that I'm here. This is David Page. Screw them.